You are not awakened by light, because light is unreliable in this world. You wake because your body has learned, through repetition rather than comfort, when it is time to stop sleeping. The darkness around you is not dramatic or mysterious. It is simply there, thick and ordinary, pressing against your closed eyes, even after you open them. For a moment, you do not move, not because you are peaceful, but because moving requires a small calculation. How cold is the air today? How stiff does your back feel? How much energy can you afford to spend simply on rising? You breathe in slowly, and the smell answers first. Old straw, damp wood, smoke that never fully leaves the room. The faint, sour trace of human bodies that have not been properly washed in longer than you can remember. This is the smell of morning dot. This is how the day begins. You shift your weight, and the straw mattress responds with a dry, brittle sound, like something quietly breaking. The straw was once replaced, long ago, but now it is flattened into uneven clumps, some sharp, some soft, all of it carrying the history of every night spent here. It scratches at your skin through the thin fabric beneath you. The fabric itself is rough, worn down from washing that never quite cleanse, and wear that never quite ends. As you move your leg, you feel it. A sudden, precise sting at your ankle. Then another. Flays do not announce themselves. They do not wait for daylight or permission. You scratch automatically, nails dragging over skin already marked by old bites. The relief is brief, almost imaginary. You know better than to expect it to last. Cold rises from below, not as a dramatic shock, but as a steady presence. The floor does not insulate, the walls do not protect. The building around you is a suggestion of shelter rather than a guarantee. Wind finds its way through gaps in the wood, thin streams of air brushing against your neck and hands. You pull your arms closer to your body, curling slightly, as if that might make a difference. There is no thought of staying in bed longer. Rest is not something you accumulate here. It is something that runs out. Nearby, someone shifts in their sleep. Another coughs, deep and wet, the sound echoing softly in the low space. You know, that cough. Everyone does. It has been there for months. Maybe years. It never fully leaves. You wonder, not for the first time, whether it will eventually stop on its own or take the person with it. These thoughts are not dramatic. They pass through your mind the way weather passes across the sky. You acknowledge them, then let them go, because dwelling on them changes nothing. You sit up slowly, your back protest. Not sharply, but with a dull resistance, as if reminding you that it was not meant to rest for long. The motion CNDS, another small wave of smell, into the air as the straw shifts again. Dust rises, invisible but present, settling in your throat. You clear it quietly, swallowing instead of coughing, because noise carries, and there is no reason to draw attention. This early, your feet find the floor, and the cold sharpens. Biting more directly now, you flex your toes, testing sensation, grounding yourself in the simple fact of being awake. There is no mirror. There is no checking your appearance. You do not need one to know what you look like. Your hands are rough, fingers thickened from work, small cracks along the skin that never fully heal. Your nails are short, broken unevenly, always carrying a thin line of dirt, no matter how often you scrub them. Your hair feels heavy, unwashed, pressed flat by sleep. This is not neglect. This is normal. Cleanliness as an idea exists somewhere else, discussed by people who do not live like this. As you stand, your joints complain quietly, knees stiffed, hips slow to respond. You stretch, just enough to function, not enough to feel good. Comfort is not the goal. Capability is. You pull on the same clothing you wore yesterday, and the day before that. It smells faintly of smoke and sweat and earth. The fabric has molded itself to your body over time, creasing where you bend, sinning where it rubs. You tie it as securely as you can, because loose fabric catches, and caught fabric leads to torn fabric. And torn fabric is a problem you do not need. The room begins to stir more fully now. Low movement, quiet murmurs. No one greets morning with enthusiasm. Words are saved for later, when they might serve a purpose. Someone tea, index to the remnants of last night's fire, coaxing a little life back into the embers. The light that appears is weak orange, flickering against the walls. It does not chase away the darkness so much as shadows remain, cling to corners and ceiling beams. You warm your hands briefly, holding them close, not touching. Heat is precious. You take only what you need. Outside, the world waits. You know this because it always does. The fields do not care how you slept. Animals do not care how cold the night was. The day does not adjust itself to your condition. You pause for a moment before stepping out, breathing in again, steadying yourself. This pause is not reflection. It is alignment. You are bringing your body into agreement with what is required of it. When you open the door, the air hits differently, sharper, wetter. Morning carries its own smell, a mix of damp earth manure and the faint promise of smoke from other homes. Doing exactly what you are doing now. The sky is pale, undecided, hovering between night and day. You look at it briefly, reading it the way you had been taught to read it. Clouds matter, wind matters, color matters. Sky is not scenery, it is information. You step forward, and the ground feels uneven beneath your feet. Mud, stones shift. Nothing here is flat or forgiving. You adjust your balance automatically, muscles responding before thought. This is a body trained by necessity, not by choice. You move because you must, and because you always have, somewhere far removed from this place and time. People talk about mornings as opportunities, as beginnings full of promise. Here, morning is simply the continuation of survival. You have woken up. That is all. The day can begin. Hunger does not arrive suddenly. It is already there when you wake. a quiet pressure rather than a sharp demand. By the time you move towards a place where food is kept, it has settled into your body. Like an expectation, breakfast, if it deserves that name, is not separate from the rest of the day. It is not a pause or a comfort. It is simply the first attempt to give your body enough fuel to continue doing what it must do. The pot sits where it always darkened sits by years of soot. Its metal surface uneven and scarred. It has been repaired more times than anyone remembers. Patches layered over older patches, holding together through habit as much as cross frames the inside it. Something thick waits, unchanged in any meaningful way from yesterday or the day before that. The stew has no clear identity anymore. Once long, it might have started as vegetables cut fresh, grains measured with care, meat at its bearing lie. Now it is an accumulation, barley softened at beyond recognition, roots boiled until their shapes dissolve, bits that appear and disappear depending on luck. It has been reheated so many times that individual flavors no longer exist. What remains, dull heaviness, as single, warm and filling and deeply familiar. You lean closer as the lid is lifted, and steam rises, carrying a smell that is neither pleasant nor offensive. It simply is. Your stomach tightens in response, not with excitement, but with readiness. A wooden ladle dips in, slow and deliberate. The wood is dark, polished smooth by years of contact with hot, liquid, and rough hands. Bowls are filled one by one. There is no choice, no preference. Everyone receives roughly the same amount, judged by eye rather than measure. Fairness here is practical, not sentimental. When your turn comes, you take the bowl carefully, feeling the heat seep through the wood. You cradle it close, not because it is precious, but because dropping it would mean going without, and that is not an option. You sit where there is space. Benches are surfaces worn down by generations of bodies, shifting and leaning. You bring the bowl closer and begin to eat. The spoon scrapes softly against the inside, a sound repeated so often that it fades into the background. The stew coats your tongue, thick and starchy. It tastes of nothing in particular and of everything it has ever been. You chew slowly, not because you are savoring it, but because hot food demands patience. Burning your mouth would only make the rest of the day hotter. Around you, others eat in the same quiet focus. Conversation is minimal. There is no ritual here, no shared enjoyment. Eating is hand-led efficiently, as another task to be completed before the next one begins. Someone coughs into their hand, then continues eating without comment. Someone else wipes their mouth with the back of their sleeve. No one notices. These gestures are too ordinary to attract attention. Cleanliness exists here as a concept, more than a hands are not washed before eating, unless there is obvious reason to do so. And even then, water is used sparingly. Water must be fetched, stored. Every use is weighed against future need. The bowl you eat from was used yesterday. And the day before, it was rinsed, perhaps. If water allowed, it was not scrubbed. It does not smell clean. It smells neutral, which is considered good enough. When the bowl is empty, you tip it slightly, scraping the last thick remnants into your mouth. Waste is unthinkable. Calories are counted not by number, but by absence. You swallow, feeling the warmth settle in your stomach. A small, temporary relief. It will not last long, but it will help. You hand the bowl back or stack it with the already others, cooling, already waiting to be filled again later. Your body makes its next demand without politeness. There is no private space set aside for it, no designated room designed for comfort or cleanliness. You respond by habit, moving away from where people are gathered, stepping outside or toward a corner, provide a thin illusion of privacy. The ground is hard, depending muddy on the weather. You choose a spot-based on convenience rather than dignity. There is paper. There is no soap. There is water, sometimes, but not always, and rarely enough to waste on washing unless absolutely necessary. You squat, balancing carefully, muscles responding with practiced ease. This is not an awkward position for you. It has been learned and reinforced over years. When you finish, you use what is available, a scrap of cloth, if you are lucky, straw if you are not, often nothing at all. Hands are wiped on clothing, on grass, on the near street surface that will serve. The discomfort is brief. The memory of it fades quickly because it must. There is an understanding, unspoken but universal, that sickness comes from many places: food, water, air, contact. You cannot protect yourself from all of it. Stomach pains are common. Diarrhea is common. Fevers come and go. Some pass without consequence. Some do not. When someone falls ill, it is rarely a surprise. It is treated with a mix of concern and resignation. Remedies exist, passed down through experience, and rumor, herbs, rest, if it can be afforded, prayer, often. That is all. You rinse your mouth with a swallow of water, if water is available, spitting it out onto the ground. The water tastes faintly of earth, sometimes of metal, sometimes of nothing at all. You do not question its safety. Questioning would change nothing. You wipe your hands again on your clothes, adjusting them, making sure nothing is loose or tangled. The smell of the stew still lingers on your breath. It will mix with sweat soon enough. There is no sense of having finished breakfast. Eating does not mark a clear boundary between states. You are not transitioning from rest to activity. You were already active. This was simply one requirement addressed among many. Your body feels slightly heavier now, grounded by the food, but not energized in any modern sense. Energy here is not a burst. It is as low burn, carefully rationed. As you prepare to leave, you feel the quiet awareness of risk that accompanies every ordinary act. Was the food safe? Today, was the water clean enough? Did you wash your hands enough? Given what little washing means here, these thoughts do not rise to the level of fear. They hover at the edge of awareness, acknowledged and then set aside. You cannot afford to linger on them. You step back into the rhythm of the day. Stomach warm, hands rough, body already moving toward the free. Next tasked. Breakfast is over. Not because it was satisfying, but because it is behind you. The memory of taste fades quickly, replaced by the knowledge that this is all there is, and that it must be enough. Work does not begin with a clear signal. There is no bell, no announcement, no shared moment of transition. It simply continues, flowing naturally from eating into motion. From motion into effort, your body already knows what is expected of it. And so it begins before you consciously decide to start. Tools are gathered from where they were left the night before, leaned against walls, laid on the ground, propped in corners. They are heavy in a way that feels permanent. Their weight familiar enough that you no longer question it. The handle of your tool fits poorly in your hand, worn smooth by countless others, shaped by no one in particular. You adjust your grip, knowing it will never be perfect. The field stretches out ahead of you, uneven and stubborn. It is not picturesque. It is work made visible. The soil is dark in places, pale in others. Its condition dictated entirely by forces beyond your control. You lower yourself into the rhythm of labor almost without thinking. Bend, pull, cut, lift. Each movement follows the last in sequence so ingrained that it no longer feels like choice. Your muscles warm slowly, reluctantly, easing into motion, as if remembering yesterday, and the day before that, and every day that came before. Time has differently here, without clocks, without schedules measured in minutes. The day is divided by sensation, the angle of the sun, the pull in your shoulders, the ache that settles into your lower back and refuses to leave. Sweat forms beneath your clothing, darkening the fabric, making it cling, the smell of your own. Body becomes stronger as the hours pass, but it does not bother you. It is simply another fact, like the dirt under your nails, or the call uses on your palms. Weather is never neutral. As you work, part of your attention is always lifted upward, reading the sky. Even when your eyes are fixed on the ground, clouds gather or thin, wind shifts direction, a sudden chill or unexpected warm carries meaning. Rain is not refreshing. It is dangerous, too much. And the crops rot in the ground, too little, and they wither before they can be harvested. You do not speak these fears aloud. Everyone carries them. They live in the space behind your thoughts, shaping each movement without demanding words. Your body begins to protest in small, persistent ways. A sharp pain in your wrist when you lift too quickly, a twinge in your knee when you shift your weight wrong. You notice these signals, but you do not stop. Stopping is reserved for injuries that make movement impossible. And even then, rest is brief and uneasy. You adjust instead. Favor one side, slow down slightly, learn to work around the pain rather than through it. This is not bravery, it is necessity. Conversation, when it happens, is sparse and functional. A warning about uneven ground, a comment about the sky, a brief exchange about how much remains to be done. Voices are low, measured. Laughter is rare, not because joy does not exist, but because it does not fit easily into this moment. The sound of tools moving through soil, of plants being cut or pulled, fills the space between words. As the sun climbs higher, heat settles in. It presses down on your shoulders, on the back of your neck. Sweat tings your eyes. You wipe it away with the back of your hand, leaving a streak of dirt across your skin. Your stomach, warmed earlier by the stew, begins to feel hollow again. Hunger returns, not as a crisis, but as a reminder. You note it and continue. There will be food later, perhaps, or there will not. Either way, the work remains. There is no sense of progress, the way you might understand it now. The field does not visibly change in response to your effort. Not quickly, not in a way that offers satisfaction. The work is endless by design. When one task is finished, another waits. When one season ends, the next begins. You are not working toward a goal so much as maintaining a fragile balance, holding back loss one day at a time. Fear threads quietly through everything you do. Fear of injury, because even a small wound can become something far worse. Fear of illness, because your body is already worn thin. Fear of authority, because someone always owns this land, and that someone can demand more. These fears are not paralyzing. They are familiar companions, shaping caution, sharpening attention. You straighten briefly, stretching your back, eyes scanning the horizon. This moment of rest is measured in seconds, not minutes. You feel the weight of the land around you, the way it defines the limits of your life. There are no alternative paths visible from here, no hidden exits. The thought is not despairing, it is simply accurate. The light does not fade all at once. It thins, slowly, reluctantly, as if the day itself is unsure whether it is finished with you. Shadows stretch across the field, lengthening between rows of worked earth, and eventually the details begin to blur. This is the only reason the labor stops, not because the work is complete, and not because your body has nothing left to give, but pieced darkness makes mistakes more like lying, and mistakes here are costly. You straighten one last time, spine stiffed, muscles protesting the change in position. The relief you feel is muted, dulled by the knowledge that stopping is temporary. You gather your tools again. Movement slower now, less precise. Your hands edge as you grip the handle. Joints reluctant to close fully. Dirt has worked its way into every crease of your skin. Sweat has dried and reappeared in layers, leaving you feeling both heavy and hollow. As you walk back toward shelter, Each step feels deliberate, measured. The ground seems less stable now. Or perhaps your balance is simply worse than it was. This morning, fatigue is not dramatic. It is cumulative. It settles in quietly, like dust. The path home is familiar enough that you barely need to look where you are going. Your feet know it. Your body follows without instruction around you. Others move in the same subdued rhythm, close enough to acknowledge, far enough to preserve what little space remains. No one speaks much. There is nothing new to say. The day has taken what it always takes, and tomorrow will ask for the same. When you reach the shelter, the air inside feels warmer, heavier, thick with human presence. Smoke curls upward from the fire, staining your eyes. Someone is already tending to food again, stirring the same pot, adding whatever has been set aside. The smell is familiar, reassuring in its predictability. You lower yourself onto a bench or the ground, easing down carefully, as if negotiating with your own body. Sitting is not rest so much as a change in pressure. You eat again slowly. Mechanically, the stew tastes exactly as it did before. It fills space rather than satisfying desire. Your stomach accepts it gratefully. Anyway, hunger has taught it not to be selective around you. The low sounds of evening settle in, a murmur of voices, a child shifting, the crackle. Somewhere nearby, that same cough returns uncased. As night deepens, exhaustion sharpens into something closer to pain. Your limbs feel thick, as if they belong to someone else. Small injuries make themselves known now that motion has stopped. Acres you did not notice, abris forming beneath the skin. You press your fingers into sore spots experimentally, gauging what will heal on its own and what might not. There is no panic in this assessment, only habit. When it is finally time to sleep, you return to the same space you left. That morning, the straw mattress waits, unchanged. You lower yourself onto it carefully, feeling it shift beneath your weight. The smell returns immediately, familiar and unavoidable. You remove what little you can, adjust what little you cannot. The cold creeps back in as the fire dies down. You curl slightly, conserving warmth, pulling your arms close. Darkness settles fully now, complete and unremarkable. Your body aches in a way that makes stillness uncomfortable and movement worse. Sleep comes not as relieved, but as necessity. Your thoughts slow, narrowing to simple awareness. You survived, not because you triumphed over it, and not because it was kind, but because survival here is repetition, not achievement. Tomorrow will not ask whether you are ready. It will arrive the same way this one did, pulling you back into the same cold air, the same hunger, the same labor. Living through a day like this is not a story of resilience. It is routine, and that is why, if you were placed here suddenly, without preparation, without years of conditioning, you would not last, not because you are weak, but because this world does not care whether you endure it. It simply continues.